Good morning. Excuse my little bit of background noise. I'll mute myself in a sec. This is Karen A. here in Jerusalem with Reco12, our family of recovery podcasts for those suffering from any addiction, any affliction. We bring together fellows from AA, CA, workaholics, gamblers, under-earners, overeaters, and whatever it is that you're addicted to, that you're seeking relief from. You can check out our recovery family of resources at reco12.com. If you would like to listen to different podcasts, we record all of them and post them there, and you could find someone you identify with and get their experience, strength, and hope. If you would like to share on reco12.com, you can record yourself there or reach out to me directly. I'll post my number in the chat. And what else? If you would like to contribute a seventh tradition, you could do that at reco12.com/support, and you could support our tech and maintenance needs there by PayPal or Venue. Today, it is my honor and my privilege to bring to you Sam. Sam S. is here in Israel. He's going to share a little bit about his journey in these rooms with Debtors Anonymous and other fellowships. He'll talk a little bit about himself. Sam will share for about 20 to 25 minutes. And I'm going to ask you guys to write down your questions or put them in the chat. And then he'll be able to answer them one by one after he's done sharing. So Sam, you have 25, 30 minutes. I'm kind of liberal here. I'm not real strict about time. I could try and give you a warning, or you could just watch the clock on your own. And please introduce yourself.
Hey, everybody. I'm Sam. I'm a debtor. I'm an under-earner. It's funny, usually when I get up to speak somewhere and I say like, hey, don't worry, everybody, I'm going to speak for 25, 30 minutes. It's usually like a sarcastic joke. Like, you know, why would anybody speak for so long? But it's cool. I guess, you know, for this kind of scenario, my obsession with self is probably helpful in that, being that I'm my favorite topic, I could just go on and speak about myself. So I'm here to share my experience and my strength and hope in recovery. If anybody has any questions, just let me know. I guess we're going to do Q&A after. But basically, you know, divine providence, right before I joined this call, or just a few minutes before, I was walking with my daughter somewhere, and my daughter has a little virus right now on her, she has like a skin virus. So we were talking about it, and it's like very uncomfortable for her, and it looks really bad too, but thank God she just got antibiotics. And she was saying to me, Dad, I don't like the medicine. She said Abba in Hebrew, but in translated in English, Dad, I don't like the medicine. So she's one of five. I have 5 children, thank God, which is a miracle in its own right, of course. So I was going to speak about, the title of the talk was going at God's pace, or doing recovery at God's pace, not my own pace, which I was going to talk about, you know, relinquishing my self-will for God's will and the whole process and journey around that. Then I thought, wow, God is sending me a message. Like, this is really kind of the theme of my recovery is, Dad, I don't like the medicine. Father in heaven, Abba, I don't like the medicine, but I need the medicine. And, you know, what is the medicine? So the medicine, I think, is everything that God gives us, including recovery. I think that that's really how I'm thinking about it. And the medicine started for me really young. Like, God started communicating to me in very, very deep and painful ways from a very young age. When I was, and I don't think my story would be complete without discussing sort of my early childhood. Because for me, trauma and recovery and addiction are kind of wrapped up together, right? The trauma and the pain that it caused, and I was trying to escape from the present moment, anything but the present moment, anything but the pain of the present moment, the unresolved pain initiated by trauma. Guys, I'm just going to share freely, and I hope that people, will take whatever they can from it. I was born in 1982 in Jerusalem in Israel. My father and mother are both Canadian, but they had moved here. When I was 3 years old, I'm the middle child. When I was 3 years old, my little sister was born. And 2 days after that, my mother passed away. So I was 3 years old and my mother passed away. And um, and then, we moved back to Canada. My father got remarried, and my father, not long after that, I guess 5 or 6 years after that, got divorced. Then he was married a couple of times again after that. So I had a very rocky childhood. My father himself was emotionally abusive and unavailable, and the pain that I felt and the discomfort that I felt, I was never able to share with him. I'm just talking as the thoughts come into my head. My family was always well off when I was growing up, relatively speaking, like middle class, upper middle class. My grandfather had a successful real estate business, which in Montreal, which my father was a part of. So money was like always available, but my which, money is my addiction of choice, debt, and under earning. So we're going to get into that. So I had a very weird relationship with money very early on, in that it was available, but it always came with strings attached. I had to kind of walk the party line and be a good boy in order to, I guess, receive money, receive things from my grandparents. And, in the absence of a mother, so I guess my grandparents, who were Holocaust survivors, tried to do everything they could to, nurture us in the way they did. And a lot of times that was with money, that was with like, buying us stuff. And so I think my relationship with money was really about like mixed in with all this weirdness when it comes to, mom and mom not being there, and my emotional uh, neediness from my grandparents and all this kind of weird stuff. Um, so I was always the kid that was, even though we had money, I was always the kid that never had enough money and was borrowing from his friends and was mooching on, like getting gifts and getting handouts, and never had, never had clothing, I just never had stuff. Like a lot of people, like, I guess some people are like hoarders. I'm like the opposite. I just, somehow my physical kind of existence never really mattered to me all that much. I'm going to fast forward to my college and teenage years. I dropped in and out of college. I had every opportunity in the world to make a successful career for myself. Everything was paid for. College was paid for. Place to live was paid for, but I just did not have any vision for myself financially, like of where I wanted to be financially. It was like something that never entered into my mind. It was like a really like compulsive thing. And I just also want to say, like, a lot of times as a debtor, like, um, sometimes I feel like insecure that the fact that like debting and under earning, like money stuff, is my addiction. Like, let's say, keep going, that's like, that's not a real addiction. That's not something that's really like, that can't really kill you, right? Like, okay, you won't have enough money in your bank account, but like, other addictions like alcohol or whatever, or SA, like those are real addictions. That like debt, there's this insecurity about like debting not being a real addiction, but like, I could tell you honestly that if I would swipe my credit card now, like it would be like a death for me. I don't know if physical death, but it would definitely be a spiritual death for me. That's not to say that it can't happen. Like I do sometimes still feel the urge to, I need something now. I don't have cash for it. Can I just get it now? But every single day, one day at a time, with God's help, I'm not using my credit card and I'm only paying cash for everything. That's the way we roll in DA. Is you have to pay for cash for everything. You have to write down all your expenses. You have to write down all your incomings, and it has to balance out. There's no shortcuts. I was, I had every opportunity. I got my first credit card when I was 18 years old, and I maxed it out very, very quickly. By the time I was 25 or 26, I had already had my first bankruptcy in about like, I guess, $25,000 Canadian, though, not US. It's not that bad. Canadian dollars. It was from lines of credit with the bank. It was from credit cards. It was from student loans and unpaid parking tickets. It was just like a mess. I remember when I was around that time, I had a whole stack of unpaid parking tickets and violations. It was amounting to something like, I would say, $4,000. And I had debt collection coming after me. I had no idea what that even meant. And somehow it was very embarrassing for me. I had to go down to the court, and somehow my father's friend, my father never wanted to help me in this way, but my father's best friend, who was a lawyer, came down with me. Somehow he found out that I was there, and he came and he paid it for me, repaid the part that I couldn't pay for to get me off the hook. And I think I later paid him back. I'm pretty sure I paid him back. So yeah, I met my wife when I was 27, and she was, thank God, it's been a humongous blessing. We have 5 beautiful children, and we were living in Canada, and quickly I had some money. I had some job. It took me a while, but like after a year of being married, I found a couple of good jobs, and we were stable on our feet. And then sure as anything, I sort of destroyed that, scuttled those opportunities, and we moved to Israel, because that's the best place to be if you're looking for financial recovery, is in Israel. It's in the Middle East. So yeah, I'm building just this theme of self-destructiveness around money. I came to Israel, and when we got to Israel, I thought like, oh, if I have enough money in my line of credit, if I have enough money in my credit card, then I could spend it. That's like, okay, that's like what I have to spend this month is what my credit card balance allows me to spend. And here in Israel, there's like much less even margin of error than there is in North America. And we were buying stuff on payments and maxing out our credit cards and bouncing checks. And my wife would be in the supermarket line, not knowing if the card was going through and not knowing if they would accept a post-dated check. So we had checks going out everywhere to all these different grocery stores, because they take post-dated checks here in the grocery stores. And like every single month, it would come to like the 20th or 21st of the month, and we just did not have enough to live. And I'd have to scramble around and borrow more money or go to family. And finally, my wife just said like she's had enough. And it was my wife that brought me kicking and screaming into the rooms of DA about 4 years ago. And I say kicking and screaming because really everything that's been good for me, even though God is my entire life, and I've been a religious person since I can remember. Like my family we're observant Jews. I always have this like major resistance to God, and major resistance to things that are good for me. Everything that's good for me, I resist. Everything that's bad for me, I run towards. Yeah, I didn't like the medicine. Didn't like the medicine of DA, and my sponsee now he tells me that every time he comes onto the call, and I remember telling this to my sponsor every time that I got into a call with a guy, I don't want to be here. Like I want to be everywhere else but here. Sorry. Come back later. We'll have to edit this part out. Anywhere else but here. And same was of meetings, and same was of meetings with my sponsors. But like they got to a point, and I'll talk about that in a second, where like I realized like I couldn't do it without God. I couldn't do it without working the steps. It just like it wouldn't be impossible. So what happened was I entered into the rooms of DA in 2021, I would say 2020, like early 2020. And we worked the program, initially without working the steps. We just like went to meetings and got hope and support from the people in the meetings. We did a couple of what we call pressure relief groups in DA, which is when you speak with 2 people that have been sober for more than, I think, 6 months, and they kind of go over your spending plan with you. So we started implementing a lot of the tools of DA without a lot of the spiritual work. So I did the tools. So we would write down everything that we spent. We would try to we stopped using credit cards like religiously. We stopped debting, and like this is really something that I share a lot, is that it was really miraculous. If you would have told me, if you'd have told me prior to working DA that I would be able to live without a credit card, that I'd be able to live with only cash in Israel or anywhere, I would have said that you're completely nuts. It's completely impossible. But like somehow within just a couple of months of going to meetings and starting to implement some of the tools, and we would go to weekly meetings. Back then they were in-person meetings. I don't know if anybody remembers what that was, but like, yes, we actually met in a room of a group of people, very powerful, and live and in color. Started going to the meetings, started implementing the tools, and like within a couple of months, it was just like night and day. Like literally, like somebody turned the light on. Like we were just, how do we have this money? How are we able to do this? How are we able to? I remember I went on vacation with my family. We paid everything for in cash. It was like the first time I ever did that. I went away with my wife for our anniversary. We paid for it in cash. It was the first time we ever did anything like that. And it wasn't like I was earning more money. It was just somehow miraculously, it was just there. When we put our focus and attention to it, when we brought, I guess, when we brought God into the picture and divine principles into the picture of our finances, we literally saw miracles and over and over again. Fast forward, I know I just want to be conscious of the time. So we were very grateful and we were living by these tools and principles of DA, but I was not working the steps. I was only like kind of slow, and I didn't have a sponsor. I was only like, and it was still like this dynamic where like, wow, I realize this is good for me, but like I'm on the fence. Like I don't really want to be part of this, especially like I'm going to be just like honest how I was feeling, like not this like cultish, like religious, spiritual aspect of it. I'm like, I already have religion. I already have God. I'll take the practical tools, but I don't need all the spiritual stuff from DA. I'm already spiritual, right? I keep the Sabbath. I pray 3 times a day. I'm spiritual. I don't need it. Fine. Couple of years into that and still being pretty good. I kind of fell off the wagon. It was COVID and it was COVID and we were no longer meeting in person. We were meeting on Zoom. So I was practicing the tools, but like we I just fell out of it. Like I lost my job and I got like this whole bunch of money as reparations. And then my grandparents died and they were in Canada. And I was, I, even though there were no flights, I made it back over to Canada and I spent all this money on it and I stopped tracking my numbers and hey, I'm like doing something really important. I can't do my numbers right now. So I stopped tracking my spending. And I just started getting back into my bad habits, into my compulsive tendencies. And this lasted for, I'd say, a good year. And then I found another job and I was making good money again. So I thought everything was fine. And then I lost that job. And this job didn't have any like unemployment with it or any pension, or I don't know what they call it, whatever, any like reparations, because it was an American job and I was like a contractor, so I didn't have any safety net to fall into, and I was like, whoa, this is bad. And then in the meantime, I had accumulated another. I was pretty much debt free. I was on when I was working DA the first time, we had pretty much paid off all our unsecured debt, and then in that course of time that I had relapsed, I very quickly accumulated another $60,000 worth of debt, 200,000 shekels worth of unsecured debt in all kinds of insane things that I did. Whatever. Anyways, and insane things that happened. Like this is something that was really like a big novel teaching for like my sponsor when I hooked up with my sponsor. So my second sponsor that I've worked with over the last couple of years, last year, he told me that like the disease keeps getting worse. It doesn't get better. And that's what I experienced when I relapsed. Like it wasn't even me spending, like debt found me. All this crazy stuff happened to me where like it was totally out of my control. I realized I was like totally powerless over debt. Complete like it found me, and it was, despite my best efforts to stay away from it, I just kept spiraling, debting and not earning, debting and not earning, debting, not earning. And it was really causing a lot of, my wife is amazing and she's super supportive despite all my insanity, but it was really hurting my family. And then in desperation on my knees, again, kicking and screaming, I don't like the medicine, but I came back to my original friend in DA and just speaking to him. I didn't even start working the steps, but then we did start working the steps shortly after that, but just speaking to him and just getting his encouragement, his recovery, strength, and hope. He helped put me back on my feet, and I found a job, and then we started working the steps. And we went through all the steps. And for the first time, I shared with everybody like all my foibles and mistakes and harms and resentments, and they come up every single day. And it was so painful to do it, but liberating as well. So we went through the steps, and then, but I still did not get to step 12. for some reason there was still a block, and I was missing meetings with my sponsor. And again, like, I guess the point I'm trying to convey is like every step of the way, like I was resisting, like just giving myself over to this program, just giving myself over to God, despite the fact that like everything in the program that I do, every action that I take, every meeting that I go to, every meeting with my sponsor, meeting with my sponsee is like complete godliness. Like it's complete, like the truth and exactly what I need to deal with my issues. I felt time and time again this overwhelming resistance, and I had the same resistance working with my first sponsor to step 12, and we just couldn't get there. And then by the grace of God, I was introduced to another sponsor who's my current sponsor, and he worked the steps with me with the big book workbook, 12-step workbook. And it took us meeting twice a week for an hour each time. And I'm very grateful to him. Yeah, I'm very grateful. And it's just amazing because this drug addict gambler became somebody who would do this for somebody else. And it's so profound. And, by the grace of God now, I'm also sponsoring somebody. And it just seems totally crazy to me that somebody like me could be offering encouragement to somebody else and guiding them through the steps and offering them, practical advice on financial matters, practical matters. But, that's the program. You put yourself in the right place and God does the rest, including, to get to where I am now in this meeting, that I have no idea how I'm here sharing in this way, but I put in the time and I put in the effort, and I want to get better, and I want to continuously get better. And so to the point now, actually, where I don't know, I mean, it's still hard for me to, I have to really discipline myself to make sure that I'm on time and I'm diligent with meeting with my sponsee, and I'm supposed to meeting with another sponsee tomorrow for the first time. And I have to discipline myself because I still feel the same resistance. I still feel like I don't like the medicine, just like a little kid, my daughter who doesn't like her medicine, but I know what it is. And I know that I belong here. And, one day at a time, progress, not perfection. I started doing the morning readings now, morning meditation, the morning readings, and step 4 every day, doing my inventory every day. And I was always very spotty with that. But recently, again, like honestly, it really just started like a couple of weeks ago. I met with my sponsor, and he was like, screw you, Sam. I'm not hearing any of this bullshit that you have to tell me unless you start sending me a nightly inventory, unless you start doing this nightly step 4 and daily reading. Like, I don't want to hear your BS anymore. And like, that's what I needed to hear. And again, like I resisted it so much, but now I see it's just godliness. It's just exactly the godly medicine that I need. I have to discipline myself. God has to discipline me because I am by nature as an addict, undisciplined, and I rely on God to discipline me. So thank you very much for letting me share. I think that's been 25 minutes. It's been an honor and to be able to speak about my story, and I'm going to leave it there for now. Is that cool, or should I say more?
Oh, we're going to have you say more. Thank you so much. That was so beautiful and so raw. Can you share with us what got you moved there? What got you choked up? Get us into your world a little bit. Seems like a bit of gratitude, a bit of overflow. Can you share with us?
Sure. So without without tearing up again, I just what I'm amazed by working this program is or what really moves me is that there would be another human being in another country that never met me before, that has so much going on his plate, running a business, running a family, that would take so much time out of their lives to sit with me with no money, not asking anything in return, just to give to me what he has. like in this world, everybody wants something from you. Everybody wants something from you. And I think this is the first, and also like going back to my family, also like I never had any unconditional support or love from my family. Like they just were incapable of doing that. The people that I were around me. And so to have this, like all I had to do was show up, and then I had, this support without any kind of strings attached, just show up and do the work and be there, to have this support from this person. I mean, of course, there are always, relational strings attached, and you have to show up, but like just the fact that that there would be this person that would invest so much time in me for nothing.
Wow. I really get that. And I just want to point back to you, Sam, that that's what you're doing with us here now. You're giving us unconditional love. You're a busy guy. You're a father. You work. You have a wife. You got a lot on your head. And you're doing that with us now. So thanks for paying it forward. And yeah, we're here for you. I mean, because our life depends on it, right? I'm moving. You could see in the background. And I don't mean it to be rude, I had an appointment to be at IKEA this morning. I have to get a lot of stuff done, but I don't mess around with my recovery. I don't mess around with my family. We're your family, Sam. We're here for you, and we get you, and we are you, and we all have our isn't that beautiful that in spite of or because of our resumes of trauma and drama, and we could all kind of one can outdo the other. We could all really show off. I'm sure it would be a tough race. Our past is our dark past is our greatest asset. Like our big book says, it's like, oh, that guy had a father, I didn't know Sam lost his mother. By the way, Sam, I don't know if I'm a widow with 6 kids. So it's like, whoa, oh, I got like another brother who understands loss, understands death, understands grief. Like, that's another layer where we can identify with one another, or people on this line, and it's crazy, we both happen to be in Israel, but right, my 2 sponsees, right now they're not Jewish, they don't have the same, necessarily the same color skin, they certainly don't have the same religion or family setup, and one addict to another, we all get each other, irrespective of our religion, our skin color, or social status, and I get why that moves you, because it is really magical, It is really magical as people who are, sophisticated, read a lot, have our own religious practices. It's the magic of this work. So thanks for sharing that. And if you're new here, this is an important plug. If you're a newcomer, you have some family here, you have some unconditional love, you have some people who get you. When you start talking out there in the big world, to normies or whatever, you might get some blank stares or some rolled eyes or people who won't get you. I bet we've all been there. Sam, you've been there when you share with people and they're like, what? Or you feel like you're just like a little bit too much for those regular people, but like as addicts, as codependents, we get one another. Okay. Please put your questions in the chat. I jotted down a few more questions. Everybody else, feel free to put yours down. I want you to share more about your daily practice, about your regimen. You started talking a little bit about your sponsor demanding your nightly inventory. What are you doing every day to stay spiritually fit, Sam?
What I'm doing every day to stay spiritually fit is I'm starting my day after I do sort of my morning blessings. I'll sit down with a cup of coffee and I'll do the morning reading from page 86 to 87. And I really connect to that reading very much, especially the part about relaxing and taking it easy. Self-will has been a curse, and I'm always trying to do, and I stress a lot about not doing enough, and so having that daily reminder in the morning that my main thing is just to take it easy and just to relax and to allow God's inspiration to come to me about what my next steps are is really the only way for me to start my day. I pray, and I pray that God shows me my next best step, and then I make sure to go through a lengthy list of gratitudes. And very recently, I've started to say thank you to God for all the perceived negativity in my life, and the struggles that I have. Because I started off my talking saying that like everything is the medicine, because I do starting to see that as a result of the clarity that's coming from relaxing and taking it easy and following the principles of the program, is that everything, if everything is God. Everything that happened to me is God. That didn't happen to me, it happened for me. I always thought that that was just a cliche and I couldn't relate to it. But through my gratitude about it, if I could be grateful about the painful things that happened to me, knowing that those things that happened to me happened for a reason and happened for me, so to make me into the person that I needed to become, so that God could use me for whatever purposes he needs, then I have to say thank you for those negative things, perceived negative things as well, those perceived pains, those perceived harms. Saying thank you seems to help me a lot. And then typically also, like, I don't do inventory at nighttime because I'm just too tired. So I'll do inventory in the morning of the previous day. So, my resentments, my fears, was I kind to everybody? Things like that. And I go through it as thoroughly as possible. It's never perfect, but I'm doing that every day. And then, in DA, so we write down everything. Some people in DA say that God is in the numbers. So I can't be divorced from the numbers. I always have to keep track of the numbers, what we're spending, and checking my bank account every day and filling stuff into my spending plan. I don't do that every day, but I do that almost every day. So that's daily stuff. There's things that are not daily, but that's what I'm doing on the daily right now.
If anyone else has any questions, you can please put them in the chat. Do you want to talk about working with others, Sam? How do you work with others? How do you get sponsees? At what point did you start with sponsees, and what's the process you take them through?
Yeah. So I work with, I guess, a referral. Somebody referred somebody else to me. So another friend in the program who needed a sponsor, and he knew that I was looking for sponsors because I put it out there to people that I knew in the program, to not everybody, but to a lot of people that I knew in the program, that I was looking for a sponsee. And to be honest, this is like new to me, but I'm just taking them through the way it was done for me. So we go through the 12-step workbook, and that has a pretty good summary of everything. And we get together. Right now we're getting together once a week for about an hour. And, we talk, we start off just like, hey, what's going on? Just to chat, exactly like what my sponsor did for me, just like talking about what's going on. And then we dive and we discuss it. And I try to add some insight to different things, based on what I've learned in the program. And then we dive into working on the steps. So we do the reading that's involved from the big book and from the summaries in the workbook. And, we're on when it's step 4. So we write out everything that needs to be written out. And, we just go through it one step at a time.
Yeah, this is a simple path that was laid at his footsteps, a simple program laid at Sam's footsteps. And all we have to do is be a guide to walk them through the workbook. If any of you are on this line have not gone through the workbook or are not using the workbook for the big book, you can get it from me. I put my number in the chat. Sam, maybe put your number in the chat as well. It's very useful. It's very straightforward. It's like a Cliff Notes for step work. It's a 12 steps for dummies, if you will. My sponsor, Young, said to me recently, he said on our sponsee call, I never met anyone who was too dumb to work the steps, but I have met a lot of people who are a little bit too smart, right? With our workbook, all you do is just dive in
and go through the steps. I am sorry, there's a lot of background noise here, a lot of kids. We just go through the workbook. We just read it and share and follow the simple instructions laid at our feet. I like what you said about talking about, we don't want to spend too much time on the problem with our sponsees, but we want to hear what's going on in their world, what's happening, so that we can be relevant, so that we could take it to the big book, so that we could help our sponsees practice these principles in all our affairs. And maybe that's a good segue, Sam. Maybe you could share with us how you practice these principles in all your affairs. Take it where you will. Oh, Tosh, send me a WhatsApp message and I will forward you the big book. It's called 12 Steps in 4 Hours. It's the workbook, the workbook. Just send me a WhatsApp, send Sam a WhatsApp, and we'll get it over to you. Our numbers are in the chat. Talk to us about how this played out in all of your affairs and in your marriage and your professional life and other miracles. Talk to us about the promises. Talk about this in all your affairs.
Wow, do people still want to hear me talk? Okay. Yeah, I guess seeing that this is my addiction is related to money and debting. So I'll talk about that first, and then I'll move out to the other areas of life. So in terms of money, so I think that the major shift is very much a spiritual one. When I talked about relapsing the first time, I left out that component. It was like I didn't think of it so much of that. It was like, no, this is just like tools, and we're bringing like awareness. So our behavior is different, and so different things are happening to us financially. But then when I came back to DA and now what I'm experiencing it now is like, I'm not financially independent. I'm not financially wealthy. Thank God. But thank God we have our needs for today. And so the major shift is that, today, whether I have $5,000 in my bank account or I have $100 in my bank account, if I'm getting through today, and of course I have a humongous laundry list of things that I want to buy, but it's if God wants me to have that, God will provide the money. There's a car that broke down that has to be fixed, and I haven't fixed it in a long time because the principles of my numbers and praying on my numbers and praying for God's will, God has not provided me the cash. If there's more than enough avenues for that to happen via credit, and I could pay it off in payments, but like in terms of my perspective on money and how to relate with money, it's very much that if God is giving it to me today, and I discussed it with my sponsor about spending it, and it's like within our spending plan, then I'll spend it. If not, then there's nothing to talk about. When I get into self-will, when I get into overthinking, when I get into rushing things, and when I get agitated, that's when I make mistakes. When I'm calm and when I take it easy, that's when I'm okay with everything, and I'm okay with going at God's pace when it comes to spending. See, I knew I'd get around to the topic of the title eventually. So that's how I view things in terms of money. And I'll be on every day it's a struggle. Every day it's a struggle. I have, everybody around me seems to just be borrowing money with impunity, or just be borrowing, and we can't do that. I can't do that. And it's a challenge. In terms of practicing the principles. And so in all my affairs, I want to say that like, I wanted to share that it's really a process. Like, I'll start with work. There's been a few times with my most recent job that I've been working it for about a little over a year now. In this job, I've worked in sales for a tech company, and I tend to get very agitated around authority and around when people are telling me what to do and I don't agree with what they're telling me what to do. So there's been a few times where like I really wanted to get into it and have an altercation with somebody in my work over something that I didn't agree with. And I took it back thank God, I took it back to my sponsor these couple of times and shared with him. And he said to me, no, you need to be relaxed. You need to take it easy. You need to be submissive. As an addict, you don't have the luxury of being able to navigate conflict in a reasonable way. So you just need to be submissive and work, work the process. And so in work, I just do what my sponsor tells me to do. And if I ask my sponsor, and the key is I have to remember to ask my sponsor. If I don't ask my sponsor, then I'm liable to make a mistake. If I slow down and I pause and I ask my sponsor about what I should do in this particular situation, then I get encouragement and I can move forward. Without it, I would just move backwards. Just in terms of not reacting impulsively, not allowing any of the negative feelings to impact, because there's no place for that in the workplace. It has to be super professional, but I can't be professional. I'm an addict, so I have to rely on the guiding principles of the program as communicated to me by my sponsor in order to get through. In terms of my relationships with my family, so yeah, that's like a kind of a sensitive subject right now, especially being summer vacation and everybody's home and there's a lot of stress. So I'd say the latest development of that is, I'll be honest. So with the money and my kids, it's a very, very tough thing because I want to give my kids everything and they ask for lots of stuff too. Surprise, surprise. So talking to them about money and being honest with them about money, about what's possible and what's not possible is a constant struggle for me, and doing it in a healthy way. But I think there's the principle of the most important thing, and again, it goes back to the morning reading. The most important thing that I could bring is that I can bring to these relationships right now with my wife and my children is again just being relaxed and just being super relaxed, because there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of demands, a lot of activities, a lot of emotions, and it's my job as the man of the house to just be super, super chill. And I see that now, and I struggle with it, and I fall. But the more relaxed I am, and that's what the big book tells me to do, is to take it easy and relax and not to struggle and allow God's inspiration to come to me. The more I do that, the better everything is.
Amazing. Does anybody else have any questions for Sam about his program, about working with others, about sponsoring?
Everybody on this call has to pipe down a little bit. You're very loud and rowdy bunch.
They're a rowdy bunch. They're a rowdy bunch. Okay. Have you seen the promises come? Have you seen the promises come true for your sponsees? What miracles have you seen for your sponsees?
Well, right now I'm only working with one sponsee, and I already see. I don't know if I see miracles, but I do see progress. There's a lot of detail. I don't know how much I can unpack right now in this context, but there have been breakthroughs with my sponsee with a very, very difficult relationship dynamic between him and his spouse, and there's been some breakthrough, some advancement there. So I'm like kind of cooling off, which I've noticed over the course of time that we've been working together. And he just looks better. He just looks more energized. He's working the steps, despite the fact that it's enormously painful for him to do it. And it seems that, some of the stuff, he's had a lot of debt collection issues. He finally resolved part of it through a lawyer. They got a lawyer starting to work for him over the course of time that I've worked for him. They started that process. And I think the debt collection calls have stopped. And so I, definitely have seen miracles in progress. I see Brandy's asking, how is my personal relationship with God?
Yes. I was just going to say there's a question in the chat.
So this is really interesting. I think that, right. So I mentioned that I've always been a religious person, and I always knew about God, and I always believed in God. And I think what's really, really changing for me now, the deeper I go into working the steps and, the magic of the program, like Karen was saying, the biggest thing is that I'm it's not staying up here. It's starting to seep down towards my emotional life as well. Because if I really believe in God, then I really do not have anything to be stressed about. And I could really take it easy and relax. If God is running the show and I'm just... So I'd always pay lip service to it. But I feel like now, as I continue to advance in my work in the program, as I continue to give myself over to the principles of the program, I'm really starting to feel it more, and to feel God more in my life, and to trust in that, and to trust. Obviously, trust issues are an enormous thing that I have to work through, and part of that is because, God has done a lot of painful things in my life. So I always struggled with, well, how can I trust God if God has caused so much pain to me? And where do the lines begin of where to trust God, and where do faith and works? Where does that line begin? Where does it end? And now I'm just like, I don't have to answer any of this anymore. Like, God's will, not mine, be done. If I can just relax, if I could just relax and take it easy, then I trust that the answers will come. So it's an opening, it's a widening, it's a, hopefully it's an ability to touch my emotional life in a way that it hasn't before. And gratitude I think is the key in it. The first prayer we say in Jewish tradition in the morning is gratitude to God, and gratitude to God about everything. And I think that's like a key factor, gratitude to God about everything, because everything is from God, and everything has a purpose, and everything has a gift behind it. I was saying that, like, depending on the medicine, depending on the disease, however strong the disease is, you need like a stronger medicine. And my disease is very strong, and so the only medicine is God. And so and the only medicine for me is God. And so the program is helping me actually receive that medicine.
Brandy put another question in the chat about there. You got that already? However, your feelings about money and spending change. I find it hard not to get a hit from shopping and giving gifts. So I get that.
Okay. Yeah, I hear money and spending change. Well, my feeling about it is that I try to so in terms of God touching my emotional life, so that's really, I used to spend impulsively and based on emotion. Like, I feel like I have to have that. I feel like we have to put it on our credit card. We have to take a loan, because I feel like it's impossible if we didn't have that. And there's no other way for me to get it with a loan. So so let's go, let's do it. Let's charge it. And now I do not operate like that anymore. Thank God, just for today. My relationship is that it's very level-headed, I guess. If we have the money for it, if the spending plan says that we can afford it, then we'll do it. And if not, then I won't. And I like I said, it's like many other addictions, if I'm impulsive, and if I'm rushing, and if I'm agitated, I will fall, and I will spend something I shouldn't have spent, even if it's with cash. But if I'm calm and relaxed, and I'm level-headed about it, and I look into the numbers, and I discuss it with my sponsor and my wife, so then I will make the right decision. And so it's really kind of like a slowing down and removing emotion out of it, I'd say, is really what I'm shooting for every day.
Tell me something else, Sam. And maybe this is a trick question, because some of us are not debtors here, but we're all addicts, and we all do things impulsively. We addicts are undisciplined, as our big book says. What would you say to those of us who don't suffer from debting, but like Brandy said, like to shop or like to gift? Or I know I could be hasty, buying stuff and moving ahead. Or sometimes I'll even see it like my company will order lunch and there'll be leftovers, and I'll be like, oh, I should take that salad home for my kids, for my family. And then I'll end up like not eating it, and it'll go in the garbage, and I'll be like, oh, is that like my lack of faith? Like, can you talk about those of us who spend, even if we do have the money, even if we can't afford it? Let's say we're not working a DA program, but like, we're just like, what would you say to us on that?
I'm not sure if I understood the question, because you said a couple of things there. You said sort of take things home, because not being afraid that you can't afford something, and then also spending more than maybe you have. I'm not sure what the question is.
No, talk to us about those who spend even when we have, but we're spending impulsively, compulsively. And just like, when we start making a land grab for stuff, but, buying stuff, taking stuff, all that. I don't mean stealing.
Right. I don't know. I would just say that, bring God into the process as much as possible. Pray about it. I mean, everybody's situation is different. So, and, it's really, I guess there's nothing wrong intrinsically with using a credit card, although some people would say that there is. Certainly not sound financial practice from any vantage point to be in an unsecured debt because of the interest and because of the money that you're paying on it. So, it's like, there's people that I've heard of that work the 12 steps, even if they don't have addictions. So I would say that working the principles of DA would probably be good for anybody, even if they didn't have a compulsive problem around money. And just to try to bring God and divine principle into the way we spend our money as much as possible, because then you can be assured that your whole life, I mean, finances is such a huge part of life, and you obviously want it to be aligned with God's will, or higher principles, higher consciousness principles of the way you spend. So the thing about it is scarcity and depriving oneself is not something that we advocate in DA. Also, like, it's a big thing to that our needs come first, not creditors. So you have to take care of your needs as well, and it's important to be honest about it. So I mean, if I say anything, I would say, like, if you have any doubt, or you're feeling any insecurity or uncomfortableness around spending, so discuss it with people in the program, discuss it with your friends, discuss it with God, discuss it with your sponsors, and bring it up and just air it out and see where that takes you. Communication is key.
Okay, Sam, I think time's up.
Yeah.
Thank you. And asking us to pray on our money, pray on our spending, pray on our shopping. I'm going to do that right now as I get ready to move homes. That's for darn sure.
Yes.
And will you be able to pray us out here?
Could I? Yeah.
Yes, Taylor.
Well, could I just do a serenity prayer then? Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Okay. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Your will, not mine, be done.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone on here. Have a great day, and we will hit you up for, we will be in touch with you guys on Reco12. If you'd like to share on our podcast, please get in touch with me directly or on Reco12.com. If you have questions for Sam directly, you can hit him up on WhatsApp. He put his number in the chat. And if you guys have further questions from, we could conclude this meeting, but you could ask him now. Thank you all, intelligent agents, spearheads of God's everlasting creation. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. It's been an honor to host you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Shalom.
Shalom.
I've seen stars fall from above. I've fallen in and out of love. I've been high and I've been low. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. I've seen a boy become a man. He got lost without a plan. He's so far away from home. Now I know I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me. Your touch is grounding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. looking for the words to say. You make the world a better place, and I can call that place my home. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. Your arms surrounding me, your touch is grinding me. No longer searching for purpose all alone. 'Cause now I know that I just can't do this on my own. So let me see just what you need to set you free, so we can be. I saw stars fall from above. I fell in and out of love. I got high and I fell low. But now I know that I just can't do this on my own. No, I just can't do this on my own. I just can't do this on my own.